How you doing, folks? In the last video you will have seen me getting this Beetle that I've converted to fuel injection started up for the first time with its new kit installed. This time I'm going to try and get it to run well. So there is the ECU all connected up in the back of the car, and here is my laptop. Same laptop I use for my editing in actual fact as well. But yeah, anyway, let's get a look and see. I need to figure out what way we need to... This is the initial config file. This is MaxxECU software here anyway. Now look, this is not a tutorial, folks, okay? What I'm going to do is try and figure it out myself and bring you guys along with me. So let's turn on the car without starting it. Okay. So I want to write to MaxxECU. So this is the config file. To be honest with you, the config file that's on it has no bloody use. So write to MaxxECU. Right. Warning, ignition angle locked. It didn't say that the last time actually. So that's actually something that's quite interesting. Right, so okay, so we have an initial config file there, alright. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and start the engine. And we're going to set the timing, the base timing to 10 degrees before top dead center. Make sure that that's all squared away. And then we will noodle around with the auto-tune feature and see how we're looking. So, right, why is it not starting? Let's have a look and see. Okay, so I tried a different configuration file here, which is this one. Now it's saying 1951cc. I need to change that. I was using one that was set up for wasted spark. Now I changed the distributor setting, but clearly there was something else I needed to do as well because I wasn't getting anywhere with it. Anyway, right, so that is set to distributor. Now we've locked ignition angle, which is what we want at the moment. Configuration, let's just go in here. We'll change our engine capacity to 1915. There we go. Why is it? Calculate engine. It's not 305 cubic inches anyway, that's for sure. Alright, so let's see. 1915. Alright. Okay, now let's see what happens when we try and start it. Right to MaxxECU. Yeah, that's why I didn't. Okay, now let's see. Oh, hey. Okay, now I have an idea here of something I need to do. Okay, so let's just have a look at the throttle bodies for a second. All right. So now, all right. What I need to do is adjust these so that they're ever so slightly open. We'll just try it and see now. Although it shouldn't really make a whole lot of difference until I take my foot off the accelerator. But we'll have a go and we'll try and start it up and see what happens. Alright, now I gotta try and turn the distributor slightly. Alright, I want to get the timing light at this now. Right, now let's see what happens. Oh my god, the smoke off it is accurate. I need to get this outside. Alright, now let's turn off our ignition angle lock. Alright, I'm going to go into tuning. Fuel table, and we're going to go Control T apparently. Now, why is it saying the throttle position's at 100%? Well, that could be part of a problem we have here. So let's have a look at that. Right, so what I did was I fully closed the throttle actually, made sure it was closed on the accelerator linkage, and I set the closed voltage to that, and the open voltage is now that. So now we should have our throttle position correct. So let's see, throttle position is 11.3, so it's getting stuck a little bit, but we'll deal with that in a minute. So watch, if I put my foot down. Alright. Now, right, let's start the engine up now. Alright, that sounded a lot healthier. Right, let's just see. It is getting stuck, alright, let's see. Now, if I hit the Control T button there, see already it's getting better. So that you wonderful folks know what I've been up to in the background, I'm just going to show you how I've had to actually re-engineer things here on the throttle bodies. So you can see there's a throttle return spring going down to here where the little ball end would originally have been. And I have a little cam plate in behind this, which is what my bell crank linkage is attached to. And the throttle return spring is essential because in order to put that in there, I had to take out the original throttle return spring. I've also got a 19mm spacer in here, which I got from Genvi, and they were not cheap, custom made in actual fact, so that kind of annoyed me a little bit. Actually, it annoyed me a lot, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, they were essential in order for the carb air filter bases to clear the fuel rail. So that has cleared the fuel rail. I've now got the air filters on and all of that is done, I am pleased to report. So, and then aside from that, I've also got the banjo fittings for the fuel lines as well, also there. There is also a plate in the bottom of the air filter to block off the holes that would originally have been there because these were on the Weber carbs originally. So yeah, if you go back through my previous videos, you will see all that floating around to a greater or lesser degree. Nevertheless, it's all in and connected up now, and we have proper throttle returns, even though I probably will be looking for lighter springs than those because they make the throttle quite heavy. Now, the only thing I suppose I could do is take that one in there off. But I don't know. Oh, look, I'll have a think about it anyway. I might do that. Sure, look, we can unhook it now and see if it makes much of a difference. It should do. It's another throttle return spring, and 3 is probably overkill. I'll get long nose pliers and take that off. As I'm sure you can hear in the background, the engine's actually ticking over really nice now, so I'm quite happy about that. So idling, it's grand. It's relatively easy to start up as well. There's still a little bit of fettling to do on that front. I think I can get it an awful lot better. But the idle is rock solid. It's not missing at all, and it's been controlled quite well. Now, there is a lot to get your head around in this software, to be honest with you. Again, probably not as straightforward as some people might lead you to believe. But that being said, it's easy enough to get it to a kind of a ballpark area. But I can foresee a situation where I'm going to bring it to a dyno, like to some operation where they really know how to tune EFI systems, because this is the first EFI system I've ever done anything on, to be honest with you. So it's kind of as I said, it is a steep learning curve. I didn't know what the hell a VE table was until I went at this. It's a volumetric efficiency, incidentally. It's a percentage deviation from what the lambda is actually and what the engine is seeing. So it basically is the correction table to get the engine to as close to lambda as possible, which is the ideal air-fuel ratio. And there I sound, I'm trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about, but this is stuff that I'm just kind of trying to figure out as I go along. But look, we're getting there. We are getting there. Next thing to do, get it out on the road and set it to auto tune and see how it performs. So I'm gonna get set up to do that. Right, so I've had it out for its first drive, which is why this table is fairly well populated here now at the moment. That being said, I will get you guys out on the drive with me now in a little while. But what was happening is in around this area here on the table, so 20% throttle roughly at 2000 RPM, it was popping and backfiring like mad. So what I did was I increased that. Now, here's the funny thing. I've been actually using ChatGPT to help me tune it. So what I do is I take a picture of the VE table and I show it to ChatGPT and I say, well, what do you think it is? Is it looking better or what? And it gives a few recommendations and that. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be basing everything solely on that, but it's definitely pointing me in the right direction. It's a very useful tool, actually, in that regard. Very useful tool in many regards. In fact, I use it a lot. But yeah, so now what I've done is that was down to 27.2. I've increased it to 36.2 on the basis of what ChatGPT said. I smoothed out the 3D table, and if you go in here, you'll see it's still fairly lumpy, but it's what we're going to do is over a period of time, I think that will start to smooth out a bit, and the car will be an awful lot more drivable. Now, it's already pretty drivable, but it's still a good bit to go. So let me see how close I can get it. This is definitely an interesting experience for me because the first stage of the tuning really involves me sitting on my couch in the sitting room and going through the MTune app on my laptop. Before I even go near the car, I want to make sure all of my settings are correct. Now, given the fact that this is all new to me, there's quite a steep learning curve, but there are two things that have proven to be incredibly helpful. One is the help button up here on MaxxECU software, and this gives you information about each individual page that you're on, so you can kind of go through all of that and make sure that all your settings are relatively correct. But there is a lot that's open to interpretation, and it kind of makes an assumption about a basis of knowledge, which, to be honest with you, doesn't really exist in my case. So the other thing I'm using is this, ChatGPT. And this is proving to be incredibly helpful. So what I did was I actually paid for the ChatGPT 4 premium thing for just a month, just while I get everything sorted out. So I pasted in a picture of what I'm looking at on the screen here. I did it twice actually because I had to, just giving the example here. So I pasted this in. So this is what we're looking at on this page of the MaxxECU software, and it goes through what we're looking for those particular settings. Now, you have to take these things with a pinch of salt. ChatGPT can and often is wrong. It can be and often is wrong, but when it gives you a reason as to why it's a certain way, fuel and calculation VE, okay, good, let's use proper VE table, which is what you want, and it's giving me lists of each individual settings. I can go through it all and make sure that there isn't any kind of discrepancies or anything like that. Fuel type E10, for example, injector user defined, which is grand, and it knows what injectors I'm using because I've given it a lot of information up until this point. So I've described the engine and the systems I'm using and everything like that to ChatGPT from the get-go. So injector flow, fuel pressure tracking, fixed value vacuum boost tracking. So I've changed that setting. It says good for NA, just make sure regulator tracks manifold pressure. I haven't got it set up that way in the car. I've actually just got it open to the atmosphere. So it's fixed value, fixed pressure now. So I did actually change that setting. So it giving information like that is very useful. Dead time entry method. So that's fine. So it gives you a few recommendations. And then you have things like injector dead time settings, battery voltages, pulse width adder, injector event angle, and basically gives a final synopsis. So that's great. So that's all. I'm pretty happy with that. So now, what we're doing is having a look at. So I still feel funny about saying please to ChatGPT. It is a computer, but it's just force of habit. So yeah, let's have a look and see. So these are things like VE tables, which is plotted out. So I pasted in a picture of my Lambda table. So how's my Lambda table looking? Nice one. This well-structured Lambda table. Walk through it. So what I'm doing well, suggested minor tweaks, optional version for testing. Said it's cleaner Lambda maps. We've seen someone hand tune really tidy work. Let me know if you want adjusted version. And so I said, please export modified version in CSV, which is brilliant. So that means I can actually go into here. And when I open the Lambda table in Excel, we have our table that has been plotted out by ChatGPT.
What a time to be alive.
This is all proving to be a vastly different experience to trying to get those bloody Weber carburetors to run right. Now, that's not to say that any of this is actually going to work right, but that's the thing, is that I have it all planned out and I have it saved as a separate file, and what I'm going to do is upload it to the ECU. And I've done things like planning out the cold start methodology and things like after start enrichment, cranking enrichment, this kind of stuff. So having ChatGPT on my side to kind of give me a baseline setting that I can then kind of work from has proven to be invaluable so far. And then what we can do is we can kind of get it out on the road and we can start to work through what's right and what's not and what we kind of need to work through. It certainly requires a certain level of kind of understanding on what it is you're trying to do. VE is volumetric efficiency, essentially. It's the percentage of air as a total percentage of how much air could possibly be in the cylinder. It's a percentage of the amount of air that's actually in the cylinder. So let's say, for example, the cylinder's already down, and just to make the maths easy, it's 800cc. So if the volumetric efficiency is 50% of that, for argument's sake, then there's 400cc of air in that 800cc cylinder. So that's what the VE is. So because the ECU then knows what the amount of air that's existing in the cylinder is, then it'll reference the lambda table, and the lambda table is basically where you tell it what the air fuel ratio should be, and it'll reference the air fuel ratio. So let's say it's 0.9. The lambda is 0.9, so that's 90% of, like, if 100% or 1 is stoichiometric, which is 14.7 normal fuel. So the 1 is is pure stoichiometric. So 0.9 is going to be less. It'll be less air and more fuel. So a lower number is actually richer on that. So I'm still trying to figure all of this out. I'm working my way through it. So the video is probably a little bit disjointed, but it's an interesting process, and already you can see I've got the engine idling quite well, but what I want to do now is try and get it starting better, and I want to be able to get in, just turn the key without touching the accelerator, and for it to start up, fire up, hold its revs, and then just drop down like any other EFI car does. And that's my aim there. And then I wanted to be able to pull well through all the rev ranges, no popping or backfiring, no hot spots or anything like that, and for the engine to just behave itself. And I've also done things like I've planned out an ignition advanced table as well, because don't forget this system also controls the ignition, and I'll just show you that now. So just looking over here on the main the left hand column, fuel table, lambda table, and the fuel table is the VE table. The ignition angle table is here. Okay, so at 800 RPM, zero throttle position, that's your idling speed. 30 and 14% before top dead center. 30 and 14 degrees before top dead center, should I say. So to me, I would have said that that's actually a little bit too retarded, but we will have to see in practice. I tend to find that a Beetle engine looks for around 7.5 to 10 degrees before top dead center at idle, but I'm basing it on old information, based on carburetors and vacuum advance and flyweight advanced, mechanical advanced distributors. This is a different ball game. So maybe this is absolutely fine. And then up here at kind of 80% throttle with the foot buried, 80% throttle at 6,000 RPM, which I wouldn't be doing too often, is 36 degrees max advance. But normally we're aiming for 32 degrees max advance, kind of 100% throttle, coming on at about 3,500 RPM. So that's where we're going to be getting our max advance. So that to me looks like a pretty good table, actually, just based on the limited amount of information. And if we go into 3D here, it looks like there's no kind of major sort of lumps or humps or bumps or anything like that, or kind of peculiarities. So you can kind of pull it around like that, and then you can see for yourself that that's looking pretty decent now, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to put any undue strain on the engine, and I think it'll actually behave itself quite well there. So in reality, I mean, what you want to be starting with in this process is you want to be starting with your engine settings, of course, and then kind of working your way down through this table here, like things like there's not much to do there at that one. You can set limits if you have like rev limit, which I probably will set actually. Rev limit RPM 5500. I mean, I could probably go 6,000 on that engine. Rev limit type fuel, dual mode rev limiter. Okay, so we can come back to that. Fuel general, right? So this is one of the pages I was showing you. So injector flow settings. You can set up your injector dead time. So and don't forget as well, by the way, that when you go into a page, it can end up in the same position as it was last time you were in it. So it could actually be scrolled down. So you might miss what's up at the top. So fueling calculation VE. So that's what we're actually after. Right, so now that I've got a starting point on the car, I'm going to try and upload that tune to the ECU and see how it starts. And one of the things I actually want to focus on now is the cold start on it. And basically what I want to be able to do is to just turn the key without having to touch the accelerator and for it to fire up straight away like any other fuel injected car. So let's see how we go. Now the great thing about all of this is that you really can't screw anything up spectacularly insofar as if you save your work along the way, you can always go back to a previous tune. So this is a new tune that I've actually started out on, and it's called Desktop Tune 1. So that basically is the one that I'm hoping will yield results, because there's been a couple of practice tunes up until this point and they've yielded greater or lesser results. And to be honest with you, I've been fluting around a little bit off camera with this with the intention of trying to kind of get somewhere with it so that I can actually show you something. So I'm going to turn on the ignition now. And we'll give this a minute. Maybe you have to just... Okay, so we'll just hit the connect button here. Usually it does auto-connect, so... Okay, so there we go. ECU connected, so we are going to write to MaxxECU. So... ECU busy, write complete. ECU errors detected, so let's have a quick look and see what that is. Configuration, invalid fuel ignition mode with current trigger system. Okay, so I wonder, we'll have a quick look at that now and see what is going on. Ignition settings. Yeah, distributor. Fixed cranking angle. Angle range method. Ignition acceleration connect. Sometimes the tooltips aren't the most useful thing. Like you just literally hold enable, disable the function. Well, yeah, I mean I know that. It's what I want. I actually want to know what the hell the function does. Right, well, let's just see if trigger home input. Trigger sensor type, digital, Hall, opto, etc. Polarity rising 3.5. Pull up resistor, home sensor type not used, even fire, first tooth angle. Okay, right, look, let's just start it and see what happens, okay? So, I'm not gonna touch the accelerator. Okay. So now I'm gonna try the accelerator. Something's arseways. I'll try and figure it out and I'll come back to you once I know what it is. If I'd opened my eyes, I would have seen that where it says help, or well, it actually kind of looks like it says hello with one L. But anyway, so go in there, and this is what comes up. You most likely have selected sequential fuel injection without using a home/cam sensor. Well, that's exactly what I did, because I remember selecting the injection method to sequential, and that's what I need to look at. Yeah, so I had set to sequential 360 and it was set to manual injection distribution advanced. So, yeah, I don't know. Look, I'm just going to go into the help here now. Sequential 360, manual injection distribution advanced. See manual injection distribution output entry method below. So we will have a look. No cam sensor or 2 cylinders per injector. Yeah, I need to do a bit of thinking on this. Okay, see now. here's more stuff that we need to try and figure out. So injection event angle before top dead center. So according to this, 15 degrees before top dead center at any RPM is when the injection will take place. Now, I don't know whether that's correct. I mean, okay, I suppose that would change if we had a variable camshaft, which obviously we don't in this car. But I would imagine what we need to do is find out what angle the before top dead center the intake valve is just starting to open, and maybe just go a hair before that. But again, that's the sort of whole trial and error kind of thing. But this is the capability of this system, though. We can actually do stuff like that. But let's just leave it like that for the moment. Anyway, hopefully it will run. So I'm going to turn on the ignition. Okay, right to MaxxECU. And now it should start. So I'm not going to touch the accelerator, and we're going to see what happens. Okay, I'm just looking. Throttle position is 100%, so that's going to be another thing that'll screw us up. So we need to go sensors, CLT, IAT, TPS, and we need to go. So I've got my foot off the accelerator, so closed voltage, get current voltage, so that's there. Now open voltage. Now my foot's mashed. Okay, there we go. So now we've got our TPS calibrated. Now let's see what happens. Oh, grind to start motor. Okay, so I'd be aiming for a better start than that. To me, it sounded like the timing was too far advanced, like it kind of pulled back a little bit. So let's have a think about that. So I'm going to have to come back to the cold start situation because the engine's kind of warmed up now. I was doing a little bit of noodling around with things like the idle speed and the lambda table and that as well. But what's happened now is I've got a fairly steady engine, and I'm just going to show you the lambda table and what I've done here. Now, the great thing about the 2D table is you can kind of get an idea of the numbers, and they're easy to change. And you go into the 3D table, it gives you a nice visual indication. So you can see here now, this is all your kind of idle speed. So load throttle position is going to be 0, right? You're not going to have a situation where your engine is idling at, your engine's up at 2000 RPM. With 0 throttle position, unless there's something seriously wrong. So I'm not kind of too worried about that. But anyway, this is kind of the area of concern. Like if you kind of drew an oval around here, that's kind of what you'd be looking for. So this is our lambda table. So this was all up here, and what I found was when I lowered this down, and you can do that with the plus and minus keys on the keyboard, the engine it stopped hunting and started to kind of stabilise. So I went in and had a look at the 2D table to see what the numbers actually were for each individual block, and they were around 1.04 after I had modified them. They were up at 1.1, which is a little bit on the kind of lean side of things for what we were looking for. So what we did is I reduced that down as well, just riching things up a little bit. And now, if you have a listen, I'll just write that table, because there were a couple of little changes I made. It'll rev up a little bit. And so now that's sitting down there. I've set that to 1 to 1 or 14.7 to 1, completed stoichiometric basically. So if I go in here now to the fuel table and I hit the tune button, you can see that what lambda at the moment is getting is 1.248. So it needs to correct that. Well, I don't understand why I did that. I need to try and figure that out now. Okay, so I lowered all of them down there now, right? So the lambda's 1.248. It's looking for 1. So let's see. I don't know why the fuel pump makes that noise either. We're going to have a look at that too. Shouldn't be. So let's just bang them up there for a second, see what happens. Alright. One thing in a Beetle is annoying is you have to turn the ignition off and back on again in order to get it to crank. things down a little bit now, just making some slight adjustments. See, when the lambda's around 1, it's running really well. So let's just see now. So I'm going to lower that down as well. So you can use the mouse buttons or the cursors kind of trying to smooth everything out a little bit there. So that's pretty good now at that. Starting to stabilise. So we know our lambda target is correct now, so we literally are just looking for our VE table to correct everything. Right, so it's dark and it's pissing rain outside. I'm trying to do this inside the garage. I'm getting a bloody headache from the fumes, and my laptop battery is going dead. So I'm probably just going to have to pick this up again another time. And it's just a case of really chipping away at it. But look, I do feel like I'm still making progress at this stage, but I do also feel that in order to get the best from this system, I'm going to have to A, kind of finish it all off and just tidy up the last few bits and pieces and the details on it, and B, get it down to a rolling road and actually do a proper tune up on it. But what I want to do is get it to a point where I can kind of start using it and start sort of tuning it up a little bit, and then kind of move it bring it to a rolling road once I'm kind of reasonably happy with it, but feel like, okay, yeah, it needs some finer details. So I'm going to get the coarse tune done myself and then get the fine tune done on the rolling road. So that's sort of that's the plan of action here. So I'm going to keep on at this for a little bit longer, and I'll bring you back when I've got a bit more headway made on it. And then once we can kind of bring you out on the road, then we'll kind of know what we're looking at.